everybody. It's Dr. Mike Carberry with Advanced Medical Integrations Daily Health Alert, and we're here for another episode. If you haven't been watching or this is new to you, we've been bringing good, pertinent information, actionable data that you can work with to try to help your patients and at the same time help your practice. We've been looking at this whole crisis of the coronavirus, how it's been setting America off the rails. And actually, we believe it's a time for us to stand up and shine, because this is what we've been practicing for all along, how to take over healthcare. And not that we're going to use this as a catapult to take over healthcare, but right now, there's no treatment for this. And the best way to handle it is help your body heal itself. And who better experts than chiropractors and alternative healthcare practitioners to do that? So that's why we bring you this information. We're bringing you another episode today. I have two special guests that I want to introduce, Doctors Tom and Stephanie Chaney, and they are from Annapolis, Maryland. Welcome, guys.
Hi.
Hey, so Tom he served on the Maryland board, the Maryland Association, the Chiropractic Association. He's got his BS in kinesiology and his doctorate in chiropractic, and you graduated 19 years ago. And
right.
Your wife, Stephanie, graduated at the same time. You guys both went to NYCC. Steph also has her BS in kinesiology. Steph has been a past board president for the Maryland board, correct?
Yep. And
you guys are both best-selling authors in 2012 and 2015. I'm not even going to attempt to name your book for 2012. Do you guys know what it was?
It was lose the gluten, lose the gut, ditch the grain, save your brain.
That is a very catchy phrase, and you would never forget that book, I think, if you had it on your desk. So that's awesome. And then 2015, you came out with another book,
Defeat Diabetes.
Defeat Diabetes. If you guys can't tell by now, they are both functional medicine experts and people that I've consulted with in the past for various things that we've presented with AMI and even for my own health. So welcome. And you want to talk to our people. And just so you know, it's not just AMI clients on here. It's actually open to the public. So there's a lot of people listening. And you heard this call to action with this whole coronavirus mess. And what did you guys decide to do about it?
Well, we decided to be leaders in our community. We were getting a lot of calls from our patients, and they didn't really know what to do. You know, they were in fear. Some of them were panicked, and they didn't know what action to take. And so we took that as an opportunity to really share information that we knew that could empower them and actually make them, be at calls over this situation as much as they can.
I think we had a tremendous amount of uncertainty when all of this was starting to go down. It was groups of 500 or less, and then it was groups of 50 or less, and then it was just every week, every day, something was changing so fast, and we were kind of going into fear. And for me, when that starts to happen, I just need more knowledge, and then when I get more knowledge, I have this obsessive compulsive issue of sharing it with other people, namely our patient base. Yep. And so, while we realized, because yes, we're functional medicine, but we're in a medically integrated office. So we do regenerative medicine, neuropathy, functional medicine. So we have, anywhere from 2 to 4 ongoing actual, outside events every week. And they all had to be canceled within a week of us. It basically came so fast. We had 7 days to turn it around. For us, we live in Maryland, and we get snow days, and snow days can ruin a Saturday seminar because everybody here shuts down. And so, a few years ago, we started converting everything into a webinar format as backup. And so we were able to very quickly move from canceling all our outside events to webinars. So Regen Med, neuropathy, diabetes, all of it got immediately switched over. We figured everyone was a captive audience at home anyways.
Right.
And we had nothing to lose. And really the type of advertising we were going to do, it was going to be very inexpensive for us to do this. And then that same week that we did that, when everything went to 10 people or less, essentially, right. I went into deep dive research mode and solution mode, finding solutions for me. And then also to be able to put together an impromptu webinar for patients. And so 2 Saturdays ago, I did the first of 2 coronavirus Survive and Thrive webinars, and I had no idea how long it was going to be. You know, you just put it all together in a slide presentation, and we got to get it out there. We got to get it known. Things that patients can do on their own to empower them. I think it was really for me to just empower people to not be so afraid and paralyzed.
Right.
And then also to let them know what we're doing in the office. So it ended up being 2 hours and 20 minutes
Wow.
of me talking, and I'm a very fast talker, so you can imagine the amount of information. But we had over 300 people on that webinar.
Wow.
And it ended up making last week an extremely productive, busy week on a skeleton staff. And
we had, the great thing about it, Mike, is we had patients, so many patients reaching out to us. Some patients we haven't heard from in years, just thanking us for sharing the information, how much better they felt. They felt empowered.
Mm-hmm.
They felt like they had some control. They felt like they could do something about this instead of just not knowing what to do. And that was our goal.
I got thank yous. I got patients coming in the next week congratulating me. I thought, congratulations for what? Oh, for doing a great webinar. I was like, oh, okay.
Right. Well, you know, it's funny. It's not funny. It's actually scary, but we were scared. You know, we didn't know what's going to happen, and we didn't know how far it was going to go and how bad, and we still don't. But we at least are privy to some information that, and you don't realize it. You know, just being a doctor, you hear stuff and you know stuff, you understand stuff, and you don't realize the people at home, they don't know any of that stuff. They're listening to the media who's trying to instill more fear in them. And sometimes just giving them data is enough to calm people down and them realize, you know what, we're going to get through this. We are going to get through this. So it's really important what you're doing just from the stability of the society aspect, let alone getting them in to build their immune system.
No matter
that's a whole another plus.
Yeah, no matter what, we're in this situation. We don't really have a lot of control over what, you know, where we're going as far as, you know, lockdown and times and whatnot. So we can control what we can control. And we just wanted to make sure that we were empowering patients to stay calm, because the last thing you want right now is to be hyper stressed and panic, because your immune system's going to get shot.
Cortisol goes and all of a sudden the whole thing is out,
and,
right?
you know, with us, the big urgency for us is, as you know, we do functional medicine. We do a lot with diabetes. You know, my nutritionists see many, many, many diabetics, and these are high-risk people. Your neuropathy patients are high-risk people. Yeah. And they're hearing that on the news also. You know, as a diabetic, you're 20% more likely to die of coronavirus, whatever the statistics were. So I just felt compelled to also put this together, because I knew patients were going to cancel, and this would be the only way that I'd be able to reach out to them. You know, we did convert a lot of our consults into phone consults for these types of patients. Right. But, you know, we've got diabetics we haven't seen in 6 years, and it was just, okay, we're going to refresh everybody's memory that this is not the time to get off plan.
Right. I just flipped up the screen. I just flipped up a screen. This is part from the PowerPoint that you actually did. This is a slide you had. Can you see that okay?
Yes.
Okay. So you got the stats in here, the percentage of people who got this and their categories that they fell into. And this just alone can calm people down. You know, I mean, like moms at home with their kids wondering, are their kids going to die from this? Because, you know, throughout history, there's been a lot of pandemics that affected children more than anything else. I live, we have a farm out here in Oregon. I'm looking up the hill right now. Just on the other side of the hill of my farm is a pioneer graveyard. So one of the things that I used to do with my girls when they were little was we would go into graveyards to see how old the oldest grave was. And what we started realizing is there was times when all the kids died in the same month. You know, you go through that graveyard and they had a pandemic, right? So the moms are home going, holy crap, is my kid's going to die? And then you look at this and you realize, well, actually, they're not in the high risk category, right? I mean, it's possible, but they're not the ones that you need to be panicked about. It's your parents you need to be panicked about. Your grandparents you need to be panicked about. Your elderly neighbor. So just great information that you give people. I'm going to unshare my screen again so we go back to seeing each other. There you go. So tell me how you did this. You have this data. First of all, looking at your slides, you have tremendous data, both of you. I mean, I commend you. I've been talking to people like, you know, I interviewed Dr. Rosa the other day, and he's from Washington. He had a lot of data. and Brad Watts, you both know Brad, Dr. Brad Watts,
Yeah.
and he had a lot of data. But I'm looking at your stuff, and it's like the same data, and you have stuff that is even more in detail. How did you get all this data?
Okay, so I'm a bit of a research hound, and
I know you send me studies all the time, and I appreciate it.
I'm always nudging you with stuff. And then our part 2 had even more data and more statistics and more research. But here's the thing, everything that we do in our office, we cannot make medical claims as to treatment or cure. And
right.
So for me, and of course I've been on the board, so I know the ins and out of, how to say things. And it's very important for me, if I'm going to put something out there on the internet in a webinar format, especially,
right.
not just in a dinner talk, with a group of 20 or 30 people, I'm going to have to be careful about what I say and how I say it, and I'm going to have to back it up. And so it was, if I'm going to say something about vitamin C, or if I'm going to say something about zinc, I'm actually going to go specifically to NIH, and I'm going to pull the data, and I'm not going to make claims that anything is going to cure COVID-19.
Right.
But it's going to be, and this is something I even said throughout the webinar multiple times, was I'm not claiming that XYZ nutrient has not been proven for COVID-19. But as you can see, these research studies show that it has been proven in the past for other viruses, or XYZ condition, or XYZ immune support, or lowering C-reactive protein, which is part of the cytokine storm that takes people out. So there's the data. And then I would just tell the patients, I'm putting out the information that you guys don't all have access to, and you will make up your own minds, and you will be empowered to make your own decisions.
Right, and that's the exact correct way to do it. In my interview with John Rosa, he was the chair for the board of NYCC, and he said, we cannot, like you just said, we cannot claim cures of anything. Anything in alternative healthcare, you can't cure claims. You have to have I was going to say a derogatory mark, but I won't. You have to have a study that proves that what you're saying is double-blind and true.
Randomized control.
That randomized with no interference on the outcome at all.
And I know chiropractors are getting in trouble, or there's statements being made by their boards that they can't claim that the chiropractic adjustment boosts immunity. Okay.
Yeah, we've seen that.
I don't have to make that claim. But I went through and found statistics all the way back from the Spanish flu, 1917 and 18. And I just posted data that is published in the public realm of what science and research proved as far as what the adjustment or the chiropractic population looked like versus the non-chiropractic population, as far as immune boosting or whatever the thing was, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm
searching right now for that slide while you're talking.
So keep going. Okay. But that was important, because you better believe I'm going to promote what the adjustment does, but I'm going to do it not from the perspective that I'm saying this cures this virus. I'm doing it from the perspective of this is what has been proven by medical researchers as far as chiropractic is concerned, so that, again, people can make their own conclusions. Yeah. We're going to be open. We're open for business. You can come in and get adjusted, and we kind of go from there. There you go.
You can see there's some of your studies right here.
Yeah.
And I love the fact that you compared it to the where you compare it to the Spanish flu, because that was the last major epidemic we had in this country, I believe.
Well, that was a big one. That took out a lot. But I'm just showing in general, right? So this with the one that you have up it came out of New York University. I didn't do that. I'm not making the claim. I'm just reading the study,
Exactly.
So,
and that's the way the whole presentation is designed that way, so that you let them make the decision. We're just giving them the data.
The other thing that was pretty cool about this, and I wasn't expecting this, this was a Saturday afternoon, and we had a number of our staff who were not told to listen to this. They were reaching for this also, and they were on it the entire time. And I got staff texting me after saying, thank you so much. I feel less anxious. I feel more in control. I feel better. And they also got enough knowledge that when patients were coming in the next week to ask about a supplement or a procedure, they had all the data to think with to be able to communicate effectively with confidence.
Right. So you have a whole lot of things in here. Like I don't know if you can tell as I'm scrolling through the left side of the screen, but I'm looking at all your different research. You have research on ozone treatments and UV light, and let me see some of that nutrient, the Myers cocktail. I didn't realize that was from Maryland.
Yeah, I didn't either until I looked it up. I just know about Myers cocktail.
You got the research in New York hospitals. I just saw this on the internet. New York hospitals treating coronavirus with vitamin C drips.
Yeah.
And that's happening all over the country. John Rosa confirmed it's happening in Washington as well. And they really don't have anything else, right?
Okay.
So this is what people need to hear. You also got my favorite one, the one that we talked about last week. Where are we at here?
Keep going.
Stem cells and exosomes.
Yeah.
There you go.
You know, the research, here's the stem cell research.
I pulled that right out of the paper.
Yeah, I got this, somebody sent this to me, and what an amazing study. I mean, this caught me totally off guard, but it made sense.
Yeah. Yeah, so I pulled everything, it's all research, right? So even if you're a terrible speaker and you might accidentally say the wrong thing, if you just have a slide that cites the research and you literally just read through it, you can't go wrong with just reading the research.
Yeah, so you have all this data and you're sharing it with people, but you have to get it out to them. So how did you go about reaching out to your base and reaching out to people to get 300 people to show up at a webinar?
Yeah, so we have our database. So we basically email them regularly anyway. So we sent out emails to them and we said, you know, this is what Dr. Steph, Dr. Tom, this is what we're doing. We want to share it with you as far as what we're doing for our health. And we want to share it with you so you can, once again, feel empowered. So we just put together a couple emails, text messages. We sent out text messages. But it was the first one, I think we sent out a total of just, I think 2 emails, 2 texts. And there was over 300 people on the webinar. That's
all you did was 2 emails? And 2 text blasts?
Yeah, there were over 600 that registered and over 300 attended. And I will tell you, I had no idea how long I had spoken for. I mean, you know, I can talk.
Yeah.
But I at some point I was getting near the end and I looked up and I saw, wow, it was over 2 hours. I had no idea. I was in the moment, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the number of people still on the webinar were still in the upper 200s. So they hung with me the whole time.
That is incredible.
And the chat box was filled up with like comments and questions. And we had so many questions that led to number 2, which I just did this past Saturday. Didn't go for as long, but.
So this is why I only sent out 4, Mike, because I think we decided we were going to do it on a Wednesday. I sent out the email on a Thursday.
Right.
Then I sent up a text and then a follow-up email and text on Friday. Saturday, I was organizing the webinar, actually getting prepared to get it going because it was at noon that day. So I didn't have time to send out any other emails.
Right.
I mean, we put this together really last minute. It was a total on the fly thing.
You look at this and I can think back, you know, trying to do marketing events, because I get asked that a lot. You know, what's the fastest way to get a marketing event out? And we always thought, well, you got to approach a business and see if you can get in there and do a screening. And that usually takes a couple of weeks. And this was a couple of days. You turn around and got 300 people.
It's a hot button topic right now.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Everyone is listening to the doom and gloom and fear mongering all over the media. Everyone is they're in not sleep mode. They're having nightmares. They're going crazy. They're stopping.
Well, I will say this, because I watch the stats a lot, and you know, whether you like them or not, President Trump's approval rating is through the roof right now. And I think it's through the roof because he's positive and he's trying to bring positive information.
Yeah.
Right.
I'll tell you something. This is a little bit of a side note, but I'm a big fan of Napoleon Hill. I think you guys know that. I talk about it a lot at the mastermind that we do. And he served on FDR's board, his first term on his cabinet. And they were dealing with the Depression. And he convinced FDR to reach out to the media and ask the media to not run any negative stories on the economy, but only tell the stories of comebacks. And they did that for his first term. And they think that was the most effective thing done the whole time in turning the country around. that we're having a war.
Yeah.
I mean, if you believe you're gonna, you know, succumb to this coronavirus because you're a certain age and you have diabetes, then you probably will.
That's exactly right.
And that was the big thing. It was the feeling of relief. That was what we found a lot in the comments after the webinar was they were just like, thank you, Dr. Steph. I feel less afraid. I feel empowered. I feel like I have control over what I have control over. And for me, that's the biggest win. And it did reconnect us. It was almost like a reactivation cycle without really intending it to be. And I, you know, that's ultimately what our deep down purpose is to help people and to be in some kind of communication with people. And I just felt it's just something everybody needs to do in their community.
People are looking for leaders right now. They're looking for help leaders. They're looking for people to share this information.
And it was real data, and they appreciated real data delivered in a positive and future forward way. Like they just felt like, oh, we can do this. I feel like we can do this, you know?
So many people are afraid to step up to the plate because what if they get something wrong? Well, who cares? You know, this is moving so fast, we don't even know what it's going to do. I mean, the president made an estimation of being done by April and by Easter, and he came out and said, well, it's going to go longer than that. You know, it's a new thing. It's a moving target. It's hard to pin down. But people need the information. I'll give you an example. My sister is a nurse. She's in her 60s. She lives just outside of New York City. She works in a hospital. 22 people have died in her hospital, and she's now got the symptoms. So she called me this morning because we had a family Zoom meeting yesterday, and although she couldn't make it, she didn't feel good. I mentioned something about anti-inflammatories being bad in this environment because they stop the healing. And she called me today and said, you know, I was going to take that because of I have a fever, and should I take it? And I'm like, no, don't take it. And then just that little bit of information, she felt better.
Yeah.
Because she said, I'm not going to do it. My body can fight this. You know, it's been mild so far. I'm going to fight it out and sweat it out. People need that information. And kudos to you guys for stepping up to the plate and saying, you know what, you'll be the voice, even if you're wrong and people are critical of you. Who cares if people are critical of you? If you don't have enough haters, you're not doing enough good.
Yeah. I mean, my whole viewpoint was, this is what I'm going to be doing, right? This is what I'm going to be doing. And now I just have to find the ability to back it up and validate it if I'm going to publicize it. But this is what I am doing. I'm getting these treatments in our office. I'm doing these things at home. Every night we have an ozone generator running in the office to sterilize the whole entire place. Well, you know what? You can buy an ozone generator for home. Like, it wasn't intended to be a big sales thing. It was intended to just be information, data, get it out there and meet the needs of everybody that was listening at whatever point that they could handle it, right? Oh, I can do these little things at home. Great. Or, yeah, I'm going to come in and I'm going to buy a package of something because I know this is going to help. We had something for everybody. And we're running huge specials right now because we were also dealing with the uncertainty of, I don't know if anyone's going to show up to the office. You know what? Let's just deep discount for people to make it accessible to more people, so that if they felt like they needed a place to go, this is the safe place. This became the safe place for everybody, even if it was just a safe place to trust information, you know?
Yeah, exactly. You know, we're doing the same thing with our stem cells. We're giving it at a ridiculous low price because the manufacturer gave us a break, and we're passing that along, and we're also adding a break on top of it. So people right now can get stem cells at the cheapest rate that they could ever get them in our entire city, I believe. But it's just the right thing to do. And
just the right thing to do.
Right.
Yeah. So, you know, tell me about some of the remedies that you're recommending and some of the things that you talked about bundles earlier before the broadcast.
Mike, there's so much. There's so much. I mean, a lot of it, you know, Brad Watts talked about it. So I touched on in the first webinar, I touched on Monolaurin, you know, Laura said,
I'm taking it. I'm taking it.
But this is something we've used in our office, even with our Lyme patients and our other types of viral conditions for years. And so, you know, I got everybody ramping up to the kill dose, basically, even prophylactically. So wait a minute.
how much is that? Just so I know.
I don't know which product you're taking, but of our product, it's 3 scoops a day.
Okay, so mine says start off at half a scoop.
Yeah.
And don't chew it.
No,
And
don't
build
chew
up to, and do that twice a day, and then go to a full scoop twice a day, and then go to 3 scoops.
Yeah, so you're going to build up. The reason you don't start hammering it right away is because you just don't want to have a big die-off reaction of other stuff you have in you, and then you actually have flu-like symptoms, even if you don't have the virus. But so monolaurin, you're going to have to refresh my memory because 2 weeks ago already seems like 3 months ago.
Vitamin C.
Yeah, so we promoted, the vitamin D.
Silver.
I did promote silver, and I was very quick to say, that the FDA has put out a notice that, this is not a cure for COVID-19. That's fine. I was addressing it because I know
none of these things are.
None of these things are. Every single thing I talked about, I was like, I'm not saying that this is going to cure COVID-19. There is no data right now. Nothing's been done. But
some of the data showed that it was effective against coronaviruses.
Yes, like
Absolutely.
SARS-1 or whatever, MERS.
Yeah.
And so I went through all of those. Let's see, what else did we talk about on that first one?
Zinc,
big time.
And that was in the article, and that was really amazing in the article.
Because I addressed the medication that now, because of Trump's push, might actually end up widespread, which is Plaquenil. It's hydroxychloroquine. It's an anti-malarial drug. And, there's a doctor in New York City. He's a Hasidic Jew doctor who has treated over 600 people with 100% cure rate. Now, he can say that, not me, with Plaquenil, a Z-Pak, and zinc. Because what happens is the mechanism of the Plaquenil is it pulls zinc into the cell, and zinc ultimately is what blocks the viral replication. We are so zinc deficient. And we actually do heavy metals testing in our office, and people are extremely zinc deficient, especially in relation to toxic metals like copper. Now, we do need some of those things, but they have to be balanced. At any rate, now's the time to be taking zinc, right?
Right.
And zinc in a lozenge, coronavirus jumps. This one jumps in and it hits in the throat. That's its point of entry, right? And so if you've got something in the throat that is antiviral, antimicrobial, your chances of stopping that or lessening the viral load is going to be a lot higher. And I'm not saying zinc lozenges are going to cure COVID-19. But if you have to go out into public, suck on a zinc lozenge or use the biocidin spray. There's actually biocidin spray that we promoted in one of our bundles. And I went through in the second video, the second webinar, I went through glutathione, biocidin. I actually talked about an herb from which the antimalarial drugs is made called artemisinin, which is the extract from sweet wormwood that is a standard on the global platform anti-malarial drug that has the same mechanism. So there's protocols that we came up with for patients to take biocidin and artemisinin if they felt the onset of symptoms, because those are things you would take for a period of time. So we talked about that.
We also talked about everyone is having difficulty sleeping and anxiety and just this feeling of being unsettled, so we came up with a pack for that. We came up with a bundle for sleep and anxiety reduction, because
now you use probably a lot of different brands of stuff, but you do biogenetic stuff too, right?
We do a lot of biogenetics. If you were to go to our website, we private label a bunch of different companies as well. We use Zymogen, we use monolaurin we got from Inspired Nutrition. There's Laura Sidden is another brand. I think that's
the one I'm using.
Silver we get from another company. So I kind of source all this stuff from a bunch of different places. Some of it we sourced as we were researching it, so scrambling to get it in stock. And some of it we just have. We've always sold these things. And so now we just kind of put them in a bundle, and we discounted our bundles at 20% off. To make it easier for people, we discounted B12 shots. We discounted. We just gave everybody listen, it's a free for all. Do what you can.
Right. Same thing we're doing. Very similar. You guys have a little bit more background in it, so yours is a little bit more complete, which is why I'm Glad
But
to
I
have
think
you on the show.
biogenetics put a bundle together,
Yeah.
and that's a very simple thing to talk about because we got, you know, we've got slides on glutathione, we've got slides on vitamin C, and all of those different components, and then you know, I mean, you can do whatever you need, do whatever feels right as far as creating a new. If you guys are selling supplements that you already have certainty on, create a bundle.
Yeah. So then you're doing these webinars, and you mentioned this one, which is phenomenal. But then you also told me you're doing Regen Med seminars right now, or webinars, and neuropathy, and
so what we did was all those, once they started closing the restaurants, we decided, all right, well, we've got all these mailers going out. People are registering for these events. We just switched everyone. We called everyone and said, hey, we're having, since the restaurant's closed, we're going to convert that into a webinar. You don't have to come out of your home. You can watch from home. So we're going to sign you up, and you're going to get a link. And because we already had their name, their address, their email address, and we just signed them up. And then they got a registration link, and then they watched online. And so that's how we did it.
And we still have, you know, in all of our webinars, we have call to action, just like it's like literally if you were at a dinner seminar, but it's webinar. So our webinars are set up with a link for people to actually take them to an electronic schedule. We charge for people to come in just like we do at a seminar. They pay to actually register and reserve a spot. And so they prepay. So when somebody schedules from a webinar, you know, they're paid to come in. Now, what we did with the coronavirus one, because we thought, you know, there's people that are still going to, even after the webinar, not want to come out. So we gave them the opportunity to schedule free in the office to talk about any of the treatments or services we're doing. They could go to our website and buy a bundle, or they could schedule for a phone consult. They just had to specify. So we have the ability in our webinars to actually have that call to action, click to schedule, you know, pay for the visit, and then we just call and go through our whole routine that you normally would, the whole system you have for how to get the person from a seminar into your office. You know, we have those systems. It's literally the same. So I mean, this week we have.
Well, from the first webinar, I think we had over 20 people just scheduled a consultation.
Our coronavirus webinar, and actually produced last week. And the Regen Med and neuropathy webinar produced people. The funny thing is, the people that scheduled from the webinar were more likely to come in this past week, I think, because I don't really know why, but the people that had been to a live seminar a few weeks before, they were the ones canceling.
Wow.
It was really weird. And but so anyways, I don't know what the psychology is behind that, but right now is webinar time, because this week we have a thyroid, a neuropathy, and another diabetes webinar, and there's almost 100 people registered for each one so far.
Wow.
So people are at
you have
home.
300 more people lined up to attend your webinars.
Yes.
And you brought in 20 new ones, you said, Tom?
These are people that watched the webinar, the coronavirus webinar, and they raised their hand and said, yeah, I'm interested in learning more about, you know, whatever whatever piqued their interest in the webinar. Maybe they wanted more information about the IVs and see if they're a good candidate. So we had them come in and we did a consultation, or we did it via, you know, Zoom, or we did it phone.
Okay, good. Well, that's awesome. So where do you see this going in the future? We don't know how long this is going to go for, but what's your plan?
We're just going to keep doing.
We got to keep outflowing. That's what you got to keep doing. You can't sit back. I mean, that's what we got to take action. You know, that's what I hope, you know, our goal being on with you today is that we inspire some doctors out there to actually take some action. You know, you can't just sit back and say, okay, how long is this going to go on? It really doesn't matter. Let's just take some action each day, and let's see what we can do as far as inspiring our community to get healthier.
And our purpose is to have something when all of this is done, right? My practice needs to be here and known when all of this is done, whether it's 4 weeks from now or 8 weeks from now, or God forbid, 12 weeks from now. The more we keep these communication connections with people, guess what? When the doors open, they're going to be rushing in now.
Well,
because
they're going to know you were there when they needed you.
right.
And even if they didn't need you, it could have been a time when they needed you and you were there for them.
Exactly.
And it just positions you as a natural leader in healthcare, which you should be.
And I will tell you, all of this outflow, we come at it from, not necessarily the perspective of we have to sell something. Like that's really the last thing. And that's why it doesn't ever come across as salesy.
Right.
I'm not selling anything. I'm educating and I'm empowering. And,
yep.
With this whole coronavirus thing, I'll probably do a different update every week with new information, new articles, new research to read as things change. That's going to confirm and validate what I told everybody, 1 or 2 weeks ago. So I'm just reinforcing that we are the people, to listen to come to. Even the free consultations that got scheduled, some of the phone consultations, I'm like, I'm not even expecting anything. I'm just making a new friend, basically. I talked to somebody who found us on the webinar who lives in North Carolina. She can't come up here right now, but I found out she has celiac disease and has chronic inflammatory stuff. And she just came off of breast cancer, and she's really interested in the ozone and the functional medicine. And turns out her parents live up here, and they might have come to us a while ago. So guess what? She's a patient we're lining up for when she's able to come up here. In the meantime, I gave her some things to do, and that was a free visit. I don't care. That's marketing.
You know what?
No money off my back.
we totally agree with your philosophy in this whole strategy. It's not the time to be pushing sales, although you will get sales from it. It's the time we're doctors, right? And we're here to help people. And as you were telling that you were telling that story, I was thinking of a patient that I had back in Pennsylvania years ago. Pennsylvania was a hotbed for Lyme disease, and my office was in Kennett Square, which was the highest rate of Lyme disease in the state, which was the highest state in the country at the time. And this woman, we were trying to get her in, and she had Lyme disease, and she was writing a book on it. And we just stayed patient with her. And a year later, we met her at a health fair. And I got talking to her. I said, I met you at this health fair last year. How's your Lyme disease? She goes, it's as bad as ever. And I go, yeah. So when are you going to come in?
Mm-hmm.
And we finally got her to come in. A year of being patient with her and just helping her whenever we saw her. And that woman referred me over 130 patients.
Yeah.
Wow.
So you never know where it's going to go.
Yeah.
And I know this. The person who sits back and says, well, I don't know what to do, they're going to have the joy of starting their practice over again, probably early this summer.
Yeah.
From scratch.
And the person you gotta
keep communicating to your patients.
Exactly. The person who does that and just not knowing what to do to help, but just wants to help, they're not going to have to reinvent themselves, because people are going to know about them, and word's going to be spreading the whole time about your clinic, because what you do, some will be bad, most will be good, and that's the right mix. So you want to be able to do that, so you can continue to help people, continue to communicate with people, so that people know you're there, and people know you care, and people know that you're.
Literally, what else would I do? I would be at home like everybody else, falling for the big fear mongering. I mean, to keep myself from going crazy, we're finding everything we can to outflow to our patients constantly. And, we got staff that we have to think about. We have a community that needs our help. No one is helping these people. I mean, you guys, no one is helping these people. There's literally nothing for these people. There's not even regular testing yet, as much as they're pushing it out. There's nothing for them except for a ventilator and maybe these medications if they finally get approved. That's it. So what do you do from now until then?
Exactly.
I mean, we fill this gap.
And the stuff that you guys are recommending, that Brad was recommending, is not like, incense burning, beads around your neck kind of feel good stuff. This is science. This is science. I am 100% confident that I will be fine in this whole crisis because of the stuff I've been taking. And on top of that, which my wife and I didn't really put this together until just recently, we realized there's a very good chance we may have gotten exposed in January within a day of, just a day after we got stem cell injections. So, and we never got sick, right? And I remember, I'm thinking to myself, that person we met may have had the coronavirus, and we were with them for quite a while. Why did we not get it? And then I realized, oh, the day before we got stem cells.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, this whole thing's starting to fit together. I know about the zinc. I know about the silver. And this is how we raised our kids. You know, I mean, when our kids got sick, we did chiropractic and functional medicine with them, and they're all healthy. So
I mean, vitamin C, right? Duh.
Yeah. Vitamin D. And I heard somebody saying that the other day. There's so much need for vitamin D right now, and I got it sit in my refrigerator, and I'm taking that too. So making sure my kids are getting it. But you know, some people out there who might not know functional medicine so much might not realize the history of some of the stuff we do. Like, for example, silver. People go, well, silver, how could silver be something where it could help? It could be antimicrobial, antibacterial, antiviral. Well, that's where the term blue bloods came from. Rich people back in the 1600s and the 1500s putting silver dollar in the milk to keep the milk from turning, and putting so much silver, that's where silverware came from, to stop the transmission of disease. And the reason their blood was tinged blue is they were putting so much silver in their body that it started to tinge their blue. That's where the word blue bloods came from.
Now people get a little funny. They're like, isn't this stuff that makes you turn blue? The FDA says blah, blah. I said, no. Here's the deal. If you're at home making your own silver in your garage and it's not pure, you could turn some blue. That is
and there
true.
will be people doing that.
The stuff that you buy that's pure ionic or colloidal silver, that will not happen. I've taken, 5,500 parts per million. It was as thick as iodine. As far as silver. As far as I know, I'm not blue unless I'm colorblind and no one's telling me. But even when you think about it, when babies are born, what do they put in their eyes to prevent infection? Silver. And there's silver ointment bandages. This is medically known. Like, it's just not, ozone and ultraviolet, for example, that was in hospitals standardly up until the 50s and until vaccines and antibiotics took over.
Well, I just heard a story 2 weeks ago where the airlines are now using ultraviolet on the planes to kill in between flights.
They use it in the hospitals, in between patients in the rooms.
And that's where the airlines got the idea from, Yeah,
the two most antimicrobial treatments on the planet in any industry is ultraviolet and ozone.
Yeah. How about that?
Now
that I think about it, we had a 200-year-old house in Pennsylvania. We had a spring house. We actually got our water from the spring.
Yep.
And there was an ultraviolet system on our water system.
Yeah, and one of our medical assistants is from Venezuela, and she came here only a few years ago. So you can imagine what her opinions are on the politics of the day.
Right.
But anyways, when she first got trained in our office on how to use the ozone IV, there's a certain smell obviously with ozone. Yep. She said it actually reminds her of home because that's how they treat all their water. They have ozone generators in their homes to actually sterilize the water. This is in a third world country at this point.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, you can get ozone generators now at a sporting goods store because the smell of your human smell a lot of times is transmitted by bacteria.
Yeah.
And what hunters figured out is they put a little ozone generator in the tree above them. The animals can't smell them.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I know that because I did buy one in the store, and it's on the East Coast, but
and they're cheap. That's why we talked about it to patients. If you can't come in to get an ozone treatment, but you want to ozone bomb your house, you obviously can't breathe ozone. Don't be there to do it. You can get them for $100, and we gave the patients links to get that stuff. So, yeah, I mean, the stuff we talked about is not. I didn't even talk about a bunch of crazy herbs. Really, it was pretty standard stuff that has been shown in the research to do X, Y, Z.
Right.
Yeah.
So you've been having people reach out to you, asking you for help with this type of thing. You want to share what you've come up with on that?
Yeah, I mean, we had some colleagues reach out, so I've been helping them in between everything else. And that's why we came on here, just to see if we can, like I said, help out other doctors. And if there's doctors that are out there that would like our help, you can reach out to me. Just shoot me an email. My email, I think you can put it up, drtomchaney@gmail.com. Just shoot me an email and, we'll see what we can do. We're super busy in the office, but depending on how much interest is involved, we'll see what we can do.
I mean,
what's the only thing? You want to get something done, you give it to a busy person?
Right.
Yeah, I know. Especially an adrenalized, pandemic busy person.
That's right. Well, we're coming up to almost an hour. Do you have any other ideas or thoughts you want to share with us before we end?
I just want this, for me, this is going to sound crazy. I'm not really buying into all the hoopla necessarily, but for me, this forced me to kind of dig back down deep into my passion as a chiropractor, because this is where we've always thrived in history.
Yeah.
And we have to stand, like, I'm willing to go to jail right now to get the job done. And I don't know how many people are, but I'm not shutting down these doors until they drag me out of here. And I, you know, we're being tested again. Every once in a while this happens. You know, dig deep for your philosophy. Why did you get into this? I mean, what we do is pretty, like, it's science-based stuff that actually works. And this is the stuff that's going to get people through.
That's right.
And so that's kind of where you got to come from. If you come from fear and I can't pay the bills, like, we all got it going on. We had to furlough half our staff. We're not messing around. This is survival time. But you got to stay up. You got to stay busy. Now is the time to be busier and work harder than you ever have. We have worked 7 days straight for the last 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Just putting all this stuff together because we are on a mission to come out of this ourselves.
Yeah, I can understand that. I was saying the other day, it feels like Colleen and I have been working harder than ever. And we're not even going to work. We're sitting here in Oregon. But, you know, people need information that you have. People need to know what you know. And so that's why I wanted to bring you on. We've been getting a lot of positive feedback. We've gotten a lot of feedback from clients who their practice, they turned around and said, let's tackle this.
Yes.
And I'm getting things of people who are helping other people, which is great. But then we're getting some people saying, well, it's Mike and Colleen, and they always do good. So, you know, it's not Mike and Colleen. It's Mike and Colleen and Tom and Steph and all these other clinics are doing the same thing.
Whoever is going to be willing to put in the work.
That's right.
It's going to be, this is blood, sweat, and tears time. This is war.
Yeah.
Whatever you decide who the war is against, this is war. And it's 24/7, baby.
And this will be an epic time in history. This history will not forget this. And it's interesting, like 10 years from now, 20 years from now, when you look back, you ask yourself, what did I do? I was a doctor at that time. What did I do to help people? And did my techniques and my principles, were they what was needed at the time? And they absolutely are. They absolutely are.
Right.
Do not roll over and recede out of fear.
That's right.
Keep communicating, keep getting attention. Make sure your patients know you're here to help. You're here to help them. That's what we're doing.
Yeah.
And don't worry about making a mistake. Just reach out to help and
I don't know how you can make a mistake. Like, just don't make claims and you're going to be fine.
Yeah.
Right.
Good. Well, I'm really glad you guys came on. We're going to have some more different things this week. One of the episodes we're going to have later this week is my staff who are scared to do this, but they're willing to do it for the same reasons that you guys explained. So if you met Shalyn and Bristy, Colleen's going to interview them about what they've done in our office to keep things going. How did we keep the patients apprised? And then how did we keep them, coming in and how do we handle their upsets and their concerns? We have had people taking a couple pot shots at us. We've had people complain that we are still open. In spite of this, when I'm looking at it going, you know what, we need to be open. I mean, if for no other reason than taking the pressure off the urgent care and the ERs, because what's the number one thing that walks into an ER? Back pain, right? If for no other reason, and I think the governor of Indiana even said this, if you guys can take the pressure off the ERs, that would be a tremendous benefit to our community. And he should just go down to Kentucky and visit that governor there. And
oh my goodness gracious.
So anyway, I don't want to get political on anybody, but let's step up to the plate. Chiropractors always have. That's been our history, and that's going to continue to be our history. And maybe some of our younger chiropractors will realize how vital and how much of a fight this was early on to get our message out. And let's just keep
relearn the chiropractic history, man. I mean, it's awe-inspiring. Good.
All right. Well, thank you for being on, and we will have another episode tomorrow night. If you're listening tonight, you want to tune in tomorrow night. Daily, I always forget the password, but I think it's daily.amidoctors.com. Register for this, and you'll get to see another episode tomorrow night. And thanks again for being on, guys.
Thanks.
Okay.